Okay, here we go. Uh, well, I'm going to use the fact that this is a pretty small space to start this with a question for you. That is, what would you say is the connection between space research, top level domains, and affordable housing? Does anybody have a guess? Oh, they do all occupy space and time. The one thing I was thinking of is that they're all very, very, very centralized business. Space research, top level domains, affordable housing. Either through private institutions or through governments, they are areas we have very small access as individuals, as one person. But they're also all areas where we have communities getting together and trying to change it. When we're talking space research, there's MoonDAO, top-level domains, Domain DAO, affordable houses, K-Group DAO, and those are some of the examples of communities building treasuries, building spaces, building workflows together using Juicebox protocol to try to challenge big monopoly spaces. I'm going to give a little context on Juicebox before I go on the talk. That's not the focus in here how it works. But Juicebox protocol is a funding programmable protocol that has as the goal to let builders own and operate treasuries that can work as business models. They can be ETH treasuries that operate by themselves, take payments, make payouts, allocate tokens, all dynamically. And the creation of a Juicebox project is pretty simple. Website, start raising funds, 3 steps, put your details, choose the mechanics of how it's going to work, your token issuance. This part, pretty simple to walk through by yourself on the website. If it's not something you think you can do by yourself, we have workshops constantly, Bankless DAO, other spaces. That's not the goal of what I want to bring in here today, but it's necessary context. I'm Zeugh. I've been working in Juicebox for about a year now as a community manager, and especially focusing on being a community manager for the ecosystem around Juicebox DAO. Not only building the community of Juicebox, but helping the communities that come use Juicebox as their treasury management protocol, as their treasuries, to build their own communities, to create a way that goes beyond just having a treasury. In Juicebox, we have right now about 900 projects, and some have raised thousands of dollars, thousands of ETH. Some have never raised a single ETH. And the difference we see is mostly how they can build a community, how they can build a narrative and bring people together to work towards that goal. Well, all treasuries in Juicebox are born the same, but they don't all move the same after they're born. Creating a DAO right now, after this late last year of DAO tooling everywhere, creating a DAO is easy right now. The hard part is making the DAO work. It's not just about creating that, getting a lot of people in your server and just tag at everyone. Just create proposals and complain that people don't come to vote. Keep your 1% threshold of voters and say, well, what can I do? That doesn't drive things forward. I was looking at some deep DAO data this week, and we have like about 5,000 DAOs mapped at space. And we have less than 1,000 of them with more than 100 token holders. You go to look at those, inside this 1,000 that's supposedly like getting decentralized governance, very few with more than 5% turnout in governance. So, okay, we do have a problem on how to make the DAOs working here. You can go start a DAO, pretty easy. A Juicebox treasury, you have where to put your money, how to operate that on chain. You have a Discord. It's bad, we know, it's not ideal, it doesn't work that well, but it's the best we got. You can build upon it, you can build automations. You have a snapshot, you have a multi-sig. It's not the ideal DAO, it does the job. But this is a DAO now, and where is everybody? You have your proposals, you have your ideas, nothing happens from there because, well, it's the DAO of one person. I think the right question people when are building DAOs should ask themselves is not where is everybody's, why should anybody be here with me? How you incentivize, how you bring people inside, how you make this community run. I have, after this year working with lots of different DAOs, more than 30 projects in Juicebox, some perceptions, opinions on things that are important that can work, and I tend to organize those in three pillars. You need efficiency, you need incentives, and you need governance. But you don't need them as three separate things. You need those three things to integrate. You need those to be part of the same culture on how the DAO works. You need efficiency in the sense of automations. People are not going to be doing the same single job every cycle for every proposal. Governance is overhead. Governance is tiring. You need incentives. You need people to have a reason to come by. I'm being active here. You should reward governance power, in my opinion, to people who are helping you build this thing, who are making it happen. And when I say you, I'm not talking you as a founder. I'm talking you as the abstract DAO itself. People who are here building and creating value to this, those are the people who should be choosing where it goes. And those two things are completely useless if they're not tied to governance. If they're not tied to incentivize and make more efficient the participation of people in governance. That's why people stay in a DAO. That's why people are in there and they see they can provide value, not only by their work, but through their work, they get to have a voice. Through their collaboration, they get to have a voice and choose where this thing they're building goes. Some of very simple things you can do to change is look at a Discord, for example, and understand, yes, it can suck very easily. It can be a 50 people Discord, and it's easy, super easy to make it be good. But then you have 15,000 people, and now you have to coordinate them through this space. You don't do that with Discord natively. You need things on top of it. And although I think most people in here will not necessarily be getting their hands on Discord automation, that's something that's normally very niche. But, well, I think some tools that are like definitely used to know and they're useful, whatever it is you're building around the space. And I thought those four are worth mentioning. On-chain Bot is a bot we're using in Juicebox, and it has changed how we operate our multisig. On-chain Dang keeps us updated and gives us context on everything that goes through our multisig, brings it to Discord, makes the multisig signers more accountable in front of the whole community for every single transaction. And, well, accountability on the multisig is definitely an important thing. TipCC, for incentives, has been playing a funny role in Juicebox. We've been using that both to reward new contributors who have not yet put a proposal in, but are starting to research, to pull their weight. You're new in here, but you really want to do work. I can see you're like getting in here and trying. So I can tip you, or the multisig, or one of the main contributors can tip you and get at least some value for the work you're starting to do. Guild XYZ, I bet most of you already know. It's gating, token gating for both Discord, for Google Docs, they are building gating broadly through NFTs and ERC20s. And this translator bot is called NMU. We had a bump in Juicebox. In a week, we had 2,000 Chinese contributors at once. And if it wasn't for NMU, with Chinese and Spanish community, we wouldn't have been able to build anything at all. There are more tools in the QR code. It's a little list of a DAO tool stack that I put together with another contributor. But, well, enough of Discord. Discord can be exhausting, but that's part of it. Governance being exhausting is another level of problem. This is the proposals that we had in Juicebox during this last year. We have proposals to be signed every 14 days, and sometimes we have 22 proposals. At one point we had that, or 15 or 13. That's a lot to go through. And still, although proposals are always coming up, we're still able to keep a very good ratio of governance showing. Lately, we're in about 15%, but depending on how it goes up to almost 40. We had it when we were reevaluating token issuance. The way we look at governance to do that is making a system that gets the overload as low as it can. Organizing periods for governance, having very clear phases so you don't have members having proposals at random times and having to pay attention to that constantly. A governance cycle of 14 days was one of the big things we changed that made our governance more engaged, made it easier for people to be part of that. That cycle that we have is organized in those 4 steps. The first one, anyone can propose at any time, but the proposal will only get to the community as temperature check starts. Temperature checks are filtered in Discord, where our bots will take our proposals, bring to Discord, create threads, where everybody has 3 days to debate, and after that, 3 days to react with up or down. You need 10 approvals to move to the next phase. You cannot propose alone. What? No, it's not on chain. Proposals come in here, you gotta support, the bot moves it on to snapshot. Snapshot, everybody knows how it goes. We just have the snapshot vote for 3 days, have a quorum, and after snapshot's done, the bot, Nance, will quill the transaction for the multisig by itself. What it creates is that every proposal has to have a transaction. A proposal cannot be an idea. It's a proposal in a DAO. You're collectively managing a treasury. If you're making a proposal pass here, you're doing something to that treasury. You have to be clear. It's not for the multisig to decide if your proposal is the transaction is in that way or that way. No, your proposal has a transaction, and that goes right into the multisig as it goes. And those are some of the things we found answers for with tools that were around, using tools that already existed. For the things we couldn't find answers, we decided to build our own tools to solve the governance problems we had. We have right now a reasonably big amount of projects inside of Juicebox that are side projects that got grants to build tooling for that. And all those tools are available for all the other projects in Juicebox. So we have right now around 50 active projects that can access any of the tooling we built for making governance easier. One of those tools, and I'm gonna get out a presentation to show you that for a bit after I stop for questions if you want, is Juice tool. Is where you can create proposals by automatically. Like you don't want to ask for a transaction in your proposal for a user who's just getting into the space, for a user who's non-technical. It's hard for me. I haven't been a developer for 7 years now since I left that life. And if I have to write a transaction to make a proposal, that's a problem. That's probably not gonna be the best way to do it. So Juice tool is one of the tools we built for that, a way for any user in the community to create a proposal with a transaction included. Not only that, a way for any user to be able to analyze our data around the platform, and that comes together hand in hand with the Dune dashboards we built. I think Dune is a tool that's not used closely enough by DAOs. In Juicebox, we built those templated Dunes where you can fill it in with your project, with the period you want to watch. This is not the Juicebox data. This is the data from Domain DAO. But if I just change up there from Domain DAO and project handle to any of other DAOs in Juicebox, well, I can see how it's going in any of the metrics that we have. This is one of the Dunes we have. We currently use 4 different Dune dashboards for analytics. And, well, it's a little bit of what I wanted to show you on how we're moving Juicebox in a direction to create better communities that any other project that's running on Juicebox can also use. The idea is to create it. We use our protocol to run our treasury, to run our DAO, and anything that we build around it is available for anyone that is also using that, or who's not using that and wants to adapt to your own situation. It's natively ready for Juicebox treasuries, but it's definitely adaptable for other things. And, well, I can show you a little bit of the tooling itself, how it works. I'd be happy to, but first I want to open for questions and make sure that we go that direction just if there's nothing to be asked.
Could you talk a little bit about why you picked Snapshot instead of doing on-chain governance?
Well, particularly, I didn't. But as a DAO, we did it because of complexity. We didn't really want to have to create a full system that was safe to the end for our treasury. before we had an idea of how that would move. The idea of going to on-chain governance is something that we keep as something we want to do, and we have projects developing tooling for our system to do that. But at the time we defined to use Snapshot, we just did not have trust enough in our governance system to be sure we wouldn't have a 51% attack, we wouldn't have Sybils, and we decided to keep the multi-sig as a last stance for protection against any drain attacks or anything like this. Anybody else?
I was just curious in the governance portion, I really like the way it's like, okay, if there's a vote, it's because there's something impacting Treasury. What's the policy around things that may not impact Treasury?
I'm imagining you're talking about work, for example, or roadmaps, and the idea is if you want to build it, it's open source, you're welcome, let's create it. If nobody wants to build it, it won't be built. That's about work. For Discord or for community or for meetings, like it's all pretty much feel free to do whatever you want. If it's not touching the treasury, it's not DAO matters.
What kind of projects do you notice are the ones that take off and are the most successful? Like, what kind of goals are they oriented around, stuff like that?
Well, in Juicebox so far, the two biggest raises we had were Constitution DAO and Assange DAO. They are both what we call single-purpose DAO. They raised for a specific reason. They made a crowdfund for the specific reason, and those have been the most successful ones. Moon DAO is also very big, got around 8,000 if I'm not wrong. They are building something that is very driving, has a very good narrative around it. They want to do space research. Domain DAO recently did pretty well too. They have infrastructure as their goal. So I wouldn't say there's a specific topic, but there are some areas we can look that have the most success in Juicebox, and mainly because they were launched like at the right time by the right people. Like especially Assange DAO, it's a huge cause. It's in the right space. You're in the Ethereum network, raising funds to defend cypherpunk. Like that's a good play to make. Constitution DAO, at the hype of NFTs, a very hypey cause, like a very hypey idea. I think the experimentation in itself also drives more people in. Like you're doing something no one done before. That calls people in. Okay, if we don't have any more questions, let me just see the time. Oh, it's 15 minutes in only. Okay. Well, everybody got 15 minutes, guys. I talked too fast, sorry. Thank you.